Welcome back, everybody. We threw everybody a curveball this week, and we did a
Got
show.
rained out by like the team or something. I don't know.
And we're getting it going. I know we're both technically out of town,
Yes, that is true.
right? Technically out of town. I'm doing it from the hotel, obviously, but yeah, we've got some baseball to talk about. By the way, Vish, yesterday, I'm at the Marlins Dodgers game. Buddy of mine was throwing out the first pitch, and sitting there, and the row next to me, I see this guy come in, all decked out in gear, and then I look at him, I'm like, damn, look who it is! It's the best milkshake at Mark Light Stadium. And J-Ro was sitting in the row right next to me.
That's a controversial opinion, man.
Hey, man, I know. I might start something. I might start some beef there with a lot of people. But I went up to him and I said, "The best milkshake there is, baby." And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "What's up, J-Ro? How's it going?" Nice guy. Obviously, everybody there to see Ohtani hit a baseball that didn't go any higher than 12 to 15 feet off the ground, but it went over the right field wall. Guy's an absolute animal. But yeah, aside from that, obviously he's talking about. He actually turned and he looked at me. He goes, "Let's keep riding the wave, man. Look, what an amazing time right now to be a Miami Hurricane." Yeah, he's just talking about the Kings baseball, and truth is, man, I mean, Miami. We finally showed up on some top 25 rankings. I know the Athletic has us ranked in the top 25. I don't know if anybody else does, but another one has us ranked like 26. End of the day, I really don't care about the ranking. But let's talk about. I mean, you're talking about 14-9 in the ACC or 15-9 in the ACC now. 12 in a is it 12 in a row?
It's 14-9 and 10 in a row.
10 in a row. Okay, so 10 in a row, 14-9, somewhere atop the 2 or 3, right? The top 2 or 3 in the ACC standings right now. I know that if we
fifth.
Oh yeah, if we would have beat NC State, we would have been tied for the top, right?
Yeah, it's very messy because of now we have one game less.
Yeah, FSU
and also
less,
yeah, and also Florida State and Virginia series got canceled because the shooting was in Tallahassee that weekend, so they're just going to finish the season with the series last.
Florida State took it to Clemson this past week.
Yeah, but they won 2 or 3, right? But they run ruled them on Sunday.
Yeah, 20-9. I was watching that game for a little bit. It was 11. It was 11-0 or 10-0, and they came back and it was 11-9. And I was like, all right, well, it's a 6 inning. They could potentially come back. I don't think so, but whatever. I turned off the TV. I was looking at the scores, and it was final score 20-9. I guess it must have just went off right after that. But either way, I mean, Clemson getting swept by NC State the week before, and then NC State comes to Miami. We're thinking it's going to be. I mean, it was a tough matchup. Don't get me wrong. That first game was fun to watch, but then you get the second game where Miami kind of dominates that second game, and then they started off real nice in Game 3, which could potentially have been a sweep for a team that just swept the number 2 team in the country the week before, essentially. So, yeah, there your standings. The top 4: Georgia Tech, who swept us. North Carolina, we took 1 from them.
No, we swept Georgia Tech. You got that reversed.
I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. I was thinking Wake Forest, those colors.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, right? We swept Georgia Tech, took 1 from North Carolina, 2 from NC State, essentially.
Yeah, and 1 from Florida State. Yeah.
And then got swept by Florida State. No, we beat.
No, we won 1. Took 1 from Florida State. Yeah. Oh. So, yeah, if you look down,
we've got a decent record against those top teams that are.
And that's why the RPI has jumped up. Latest projections, 2 seed potential to host now. Saying if we win the last 2 series, which are at Virginia this weekend, and then Notre Dame at home to close it out, then there is potentially an opportunity to host. So, that's
we've come a long way this season, huh? We've come a long way.
I mean, it's everyone, right? Like Clemson, like you said, they're flying high 2 series later. They're in 6th, and they're not going to be a national seed anymore. And they were like a lock 2 weeks ago, you'd think. So
crazy. I mean,
things change.
Off really bad, got knocked out of the top 25, and now they're 33 and
Yeah,
4.
Wake's on the bubble. Virginia is basically out if they don't sweep us or something.
I
They
mean,
needed that. Their RPI's in the 70s. They needed that Florida State series, and they
wow.
needed to win it. And when it got canceled, it really hurt them.
That's a
Notre Dame's
good
actually
force,
making a
another team,
push.
right? When we faced them, they were top 15 in the country, something like that.
Yeah,
And they are not. I mean, 32 and 16 is not a bad record, but you're
no,
talking about a team that's not ranked anymore either, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, no, that's correct. And I think so if you look at our two remaining opponents, Virginia and Notre Dame are both on the bubble right now. So
Right.
Notre Dame is, I think, if we look at actually bring this up too. Look at the latest projections here
As of what? As of what, Davis?
today.
As of
This is
today.
from
Okay.
D1 Baseball. This is today.
Wow.
So
D1 baseball does a good job of
yeah,
that. So,
and they do a weekly. So here's Notre Dame's in the first four out, and you see Virginia 4 to watch, which is against the next four out.
whew.
And then you look at we're sitting here in Louisiana against
Oh,
LSU.
tougher. And only one makes it out, right?
Yep.
Only one makes it
So
out.
this would be our region. Right now we're 2 seeds, so we're gonna have to go somewhere. But you start looking at like Clemson's only a 10 now.
Wake
Which
Forest is
teams could
struggling right now.
potentially. There's a couple of. I mean, they do like to try and make it geographically balanced. So there's a couple of West Coast teams that are gonna host. There's 3, 4 actually there now.
Right.
So
I suggest you win these last two series.
if we win these last 2 series, then you start looking at okay, some teams are going to lose, but you think maybe West Virginia or Coastal or Clemson are teams that, because whether or not they admit it, regionality plays into this, and those are like if between us and let's say Arizona for the last spot, Arizona's going to get it because they want to geographically balance the brackets. So, and everything is concentrated in the Southeast. So you have to look at like which Southeast team, like West Virginia is not exactly Southeast, but they'll be in Coastal, Clemson. Those are potential ones you might be able to
Yeah,
get.
like if Clemson kind of keeps slipping a little bit, then.
Yep. Clemson lost to Coastal tonight.
Oh, did they?
Being midweek.
Wow.
So yeah, no, but it's all to play for. And at the very least, if you keep winning, even if you just miss out and you're like, they won't like right now we're sitting here. If we end up, let's say we win the last 2 series and we don't host, they're not going to send us to like a top 4 seed. They will, they will start looking around and saying, all right, we'll send you to an easier.
Yeah, you'll end up in
so they're
more
still
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or UCLA. Well, UCLA, they won't send this to California, I don't think. But
I doubt it, just because there's usually enough teams out there to fill that. So, yeah, these 3 potentially no.
Eugene probably not.
Yeah, there's 4. Those 4 are all West Coast. I mean, it's not going to shake out exactly like this. When you start looking at, they might send us.
We're still at least 2 or 3 weeks out. I mean,
yeah, no, a lot's going to change, and I don't know that there's going to be what was this 1, 2, 3, 4 West Coast host sites like that at the back half of the hosting. I don't know about that, so we'll see. Like you said, a lot to play for, but yeah, I think if we win these 2 series, we have a strong argument. I mean, one of the things we haven't really talked about is what's helped us is this team.
Yeah.
Is actually like, we played them, they had 2 wins and we blew that series. They're good now, so they're gonna make the tournament. So
we talked about it though early in the season. We said that team's better than
they're usually good. They stink this year, and then they beat us, and then it turns out they're actually good. They got to a slow start, and then we played them, and that's when they kind of started playing. So that no longer looks as terrible. And so that
Cookman is even in it, and we played them this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're an auto bid though, so like we'll see. But yeah, but yeah. So who's not in it is FIU, so we got to take care of them tomorrow because
and they've got a decent little record. They've got a good little program there.
Yeah, but they're not.
Is FAU in it? Was FAU in it?
No, I don't think so.
That's another team who's ranked a little bit when we played them. So that's another good. I know that they're not ranked, but those are good programs. Good baseball is always played in Florida. So. But either way, the bottom line is this has been a pretty wild ride for the Miami Hurricanes baseball program. Listen, we were talking about Vish. We were talking about there's going to be some major changes from the top down. We're going to get rid of a lot of guys, and you're going to see a completely different team against next year. Which, by the way, you still may see a completely different team. This transfer portal is stupid crazy, but the way the team is playing right now, you got to give your hats off to JD Arteaga and that staff for figuring it out a little bit, right? Because if they waited 1 week longer to figure out what they were going to do with that rotation, with the lineup, with everything that they did do, I think you're talking about. We're not having the same conversation.
No, we're talking about looking for another coach, and so yeah, to your point, just in time. The other thing, let me zoom in here. It's easier to see, but this is our RPI.
There you go.
We are 25th. That's the 6 year strength of schedule. So it has come to us now. Like we're gonna have if we win these next 2 series, we're gonna have the numbers. Because you look at the other host teams, like West Virginia sitting there 20th. Their schedule is 179th. Like I think at some point, our numbers are going to overwhelm here.
Yeah, that's the 179th strength of schedule. I'm sure I will win 40 games also.
Yeah, but then again, they are 39-7 in the Big 12, so it's not. It's hard. It's hard to.
Yeah.
It's comparing a bit of apples and oranges, and again, regionality matters. They don't want all of the host sites in the Southeast, so we do need to overperform those numbers. But I think winning these last 2 would put us in position when you look at some of the other teams they're considering. See Oregon, Arizona, West Virginia, those teams are all hosting. We're sitting there with a top 10 strength of schedule. It's going to drop a little bit when we play Virginia. They're good, but they're not.
Right.
We have now, played a concentrated number of really good teams already, which it's great that we're in 5th in the ACC off of that. But the metrics that's why you got to win these games, because the metrics are gonna take a little bit of a dip on the strength of schedule. But if you win, the RPI will continue to go up. And yeah, there are teams hosting on those projections with RPIs around ours and worse strength of schedule. So if you just keep pushing up, they won't have a choice.
Right.
They'll have to let us host. So yeah,
just
still a lot left.
Just keep winning.
Just keep winning. And to your point, we won that Pitt series and then, came home to play Duke, and we were there on that Friday night where the whole thing imploded in like 1 inning, and Giroux hit 2 batters and then they hit a grand slam. It's like, what the hell just happened? Like that was it. If they didn't win those next 2 games, they haven't lost ACC. That was the last ACC loss, by the way, game. But if like you said, they were out of time. Like if they lost that series, we're not having any of these conversations. Yep. Instead, won the next 2 games to win the series, and then, again, haven't lost an ACC game since. Swept Georgia Tech, swept Boston College, and then won both of the North Carolina State games that got played. So,
and not for nothing, but you got to beat. You got to beat FIU tomorrow.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
You got to beat them because this is a team now that's beat you. That beat you last week, and this is kind of like your in-state. It's kind of like your home rival, right? Because they're right across the street from you. So this is a team that you got to. It's kind of like Clemson and not Clemson. Is it Clemson? Who's the one that was playing UNC Wilmington?
NC State did last week.
NC State. What NC State was doing, right? Where they were. And I'm sorry, I'm charging my phone here because my computer. It's getting ready to die. Yeah, it's like losing. It's like them losing to UNC Wilmington a couple times. You can't let it happen anymore, right? A lot of those players, are local kids as well, and you got to beat those teams. You got to be able to win those midweek games. And excuse me, Miami's done a better job this year winning midweek games, but they've struggled still with some of these teams like the Stetson. They struggle with Stetson and UCF and FAU, and they've lost some games that kind of are head scratchers. UCF is, I don't think they're anywhere near contention to be a playoff team, right? I don't know. I know they started off hot, but they kind of
no, they're not, and
Stetson definitely is not.
Yeah, no, to your point, the non-conference RPI for the Canes is 67 because of how we've not been good.
Yeah,
15-9. We mentioned losing the Connecticut series, but that's only 2 of those.
right.
Those 7 other losses came where they shouldn't have.
I mean,
You're not going to win them all, but you shouldn't lose that many.
right. Exactly. So, um, let's talk a little bit about. So, are we hearing anything yet, or have they kind of kept it close to the vest on the latest with Derek Williams? Because I know, look, we talk about how good uh, JD has been with the lineup, and sure enough, he really has. Right, he's been able to make the right decisions. You know, we see what he's doing now with Tavares and Brandon Marsh. He's flipping them depending on who the starting pitcher is. So he's doing a good job there, but I think at the end of the day, you got to have a healthy Derek Williams if you want to make it deep in this postseason. You have to have that extra bat in the lineup. Right now, the team, even though we're scoring some runs, right, it's still tough, right? You get into that bottom half of the lineup, and you're hoping and praying that they get on, and that the top of the lineup can come around. I'm sorry, the bottom of the lineup, and then the top of the lineup can come around and make some make some noise. So the bottom of the lineup is tricky because you don't want to take Mikey Torres out of the lineup because of his defensive prowess. I don't know if there's a better center fielder in ACC. Not even put him in there for college baseball. Period. If there's a better center fielder than he is, doesn't swing the bat particularly well, but he's a kid that do you sacrifice his play in the outfield. I don't know if you do. However, do you sacrifice? Well, yes, I know the answer to this, right? It's kind of rhetorical, but do you sacrifice the clutch hitting from Evan Tavares for Derek Williams in that lineup? I think the answer is yes. Brandon Marsh still has some. He still has some. What's the word I'm looking for? He's got some worth, right? Like that's a guy that if you have him on your bench and you pinch it with him, now you're okay. Now you feel comfortable. We're not scratching our head saying, why are you pinch hitting with Brandon Marsh with Bobby Marsh? Why are you pinch hitting Renzo, or why are you pinch hitting Mikey Torres at that point? No, you know why, right? He's a proven guy. He can go out there and get you that base hit, get you a home run. He's got some power. So having a guy like that on your bench is huge. But you're going to have to do some things and work some things around, fix some things up in the lineup to get Derek Williams back in. I think that you need him in this lineup. If you don't have him, it's going to be tough to get deep into a playoff run against Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's assuming Derek can come back. He's the DH. I don't think there's really much of a decision to make there. Marsh is struggling, or Tavares wouldn't even play. Yeah. So I think that's a no-brainer.
Wait, clutch Tavares, man? Come on now.
Still batting in the hundreds.
When the game's on the line, you can trust that he's going to hit a 3-run bomb.
Yeah, we'll just pinch hit with him in a clutch situation. You don't need to start him. But I mean, no, he has won games for the Canes, but he's not been consistently producing. Neither is Marsh, by the way, which is why you recall at the beginning of the year, the first few weekends, he was like one of the top RBI and batting average players in the country, and he has just, precipitously dropped from there to the point that, he's not an automatic starter with even with just Tavares there, but with Derek Williams there, I think he is an automatic starter, and to me, that's the obvious place to put him. You're not gonna mix up the outfield at this point, so. I don't think there's really much of a decision to make.
Yeah, let's just hope that he gets healthy quick. I saw him on the bench, and he still had on. So it was a soft cast, kind of like wrapped up, but he was doing this with his hand the whole time. I saw him. He's just
closer.
He's chomping at the bit. Dude wants to take that thing off and start hitting. I guarantee you. But it looked like I mean, I saw him, like I was looking at him like, move that hand, dude, move the hand, and he started doing this with his hand. I was like, okay, he's ready to go. So I'm sure that brace or that soft cast is going to come off soon, and he'll probably wear some sort of protective gear along his hand and get going. Because listen, man, I don't care what you tell me. You can play with with a little bit of an injury in your hand. If you put that little padding here and you swing the stick, the toughest part is going to be his grip, right? It's going to be hard, but from a hitter's perspective, what I see is if you can swing the bat and get your follow through, you you're only gripping hard at the point of of like when you're at your when you're at the apex, I guess you say, of hitting the ball, and then your release is kind of loosens up. So I think that if he can get it to the point where he's 75, 80%, you're going to see him in the lineup right away. I just think there's no way you keep him out of the lineup. You continue to rehab him. You got a good rehab group over there and get him in that lineup. You don't want to rush it too quick either, because then if he gets really hurt, then you're screwed. But I think at this point, DHing him, you're not going to see him on the field. He's not throwing himself around, although he does like to slide and steal bases and stuff like that. So that you got to be careful with that also with him. But at the end of the day, if you can get him at 80, 90%, I think you gotta throw him in that lineup. Aside from that, I think we're doing okay in the top half of that lineup. Buddy decided to come to his senses and be one of the top players in college baseball. And Danny Cuvée has started to really, really pick it up, and he's starting to look like that guy that Miami needed and wanted and had last year. Up to almost 65 RBI now. Home runs are down a little bit, but he's starting to hit a lot more home runs now, starting to elevate and get that ball, hit that ball out of the park. ACC Player of the Week this year, this week. We had two of them. We had him and freshman AJ Siskar, who's having himself a hell of a campaign here in his freshman year as the number 2 guy for the Miami Hurricanes now. Vish, we talked about both of these guys a lot coming into the season. We said if Cuvée tries to do too much and you don't have enough around him, he's going to struggle. He's going to try to do too much. He's going to try to lift the ball. His at-bats are going to look shitty, right? His plate discipline, his just everything about his game is going to suffer because he's going to try to do too much. Okay, and now what you're seeing is, to be honest with you, not only are you seeing him pick it up and start to be a little bit better with his plate discipline, not have those ugly at bats where he's just flailing at balls and sliders that are 10 feet off the plate, but I think it's a product of what's going on around him. And you see Max Galvin start to pick it up. I know they moved Fabs down in the lineup, but Max Galvin at that 2-hole starting to look really good there. All right, driving the ball a little bit, to the outfield, hit a bomb on Sunday before it got rained out.
Doesn't count.
I know, shit. I know. Still, right? Like he's starting to look like a 2-hole hitter, which I think it's a perfect spot for him. And then right behind him, you got the best power hitter on the Miami Hurricanes lineup in Dorian Gonzalez behind Danny Cuvée. But you saw Gonzalez be that cleanup guy last year, right? That he was comfortable there and he was able to drive in runs, and he had a really good campaign as your cleanup guy last year there. I think that now that he's starting to see the ball a little bit better, starting to understand that he doesn't have to hit 20 home runs because Danny Cuvée is starting to pick it up as well. He can play his game. He can be at the comfortable at the plate, understand what he has to do, what his role is as that cleanup guy now, which is hit the ball in the gaps, okay, find some holes, and drive in some runs. Because you're going to get Jake Ogden, who, I haven't even talked about him yet, but you got Jake Ogden, Max, and you got Danny Cuvée, who are all going to get on base, who are all going to be able to drive the ball, to the gaps and hit the ball out. And now you get men on base, and you got Dorian Gonzalez right after him. And then Tanner Smith, who's having a sneaky good campaign, right? I said, if Tanner Smith can hit 250 this year for me, right, and hit, 5 to 10 home runs, he's going to have himself a hell of a year. He's hitting, 260, 265, something along those lines right now. And he's having a sneaky good campaign for the Hurricanes as their 5-hole hitter right now. I think, again, JD is doing a great job with this lineup, mixing and matching and putting guys in the right positions right now. But if you got a hot Danny Cuvée, everybody around him is going to be able to stand out that much more. Now you're gonna have to pitch around, pitch around DC, but you got these other guys around him that are hitting the ball really well. What are your feelings on what Arteaga has done with this lineup, and how do you feel comfortable with the way things are going now with Max at the 2-hole, Dorian cleaning up, things like that?
I mean, I'm comfortable with that first 4 hitters. Then there's a pretty big drop off when we get to the back. Like there's not really any pop back there with Renzo, Mikey, and Fabio, and then they're all lefties in a row. So when there's a lefty on the mound, they tend to struggle, and so there are some black holes in our lineup towards the back half of it that I'm still concerned with. The DH is a problem, which is not great. We talked about, when Derek comes back, that's the easy answer, but right now that's still.
Where do you stick Derek when he comes back as a DH? So you stick him at the 4-hole, 5, the 5th-hole hitter, and then you maybe mix a lefty in with Tanner Smith and drop Tanner a little down.
No, I think you just put him in where Marsh and Taveras are batting now, which is 6th. I don't think you mess with the top 5 are producing. I wouldn't mess with that. Maybe even drop him lower just to give him a chance to ease in and also break up that logjam of lefties. But I wouldn't touch the top 5. But yeah, no, it is problematic that there are kind of you see Fabio, Renzo, Mikey do up. Kind of like, all right, I can go get a cup of coffee or something and come back for the pitch. Right?
I can go get a milkshake.
Yeah, I will say the good thing though is, as you mentioned, like Fabio and Mikey are really good once they get on base. So even though they're not doing as much as we'd like, when they do get on, things happen. And they can wreak havoc, and then the lineup turns over, and that's when you have your big hitters. And Renzo is doing a much better job now being disciplined. I thought earlier in the year he was reaching for things, striking out too much. He's now, he's got his RBIs in. He's doing a better job of kind of being a pain in the ass to pitch to. So I think that's helped a lot. It probably frankly helped that Tao got hurt, so he didn't have to look over his shoulder, could just play because we don't have another option. Yeah. I think that puts additional pressure. We're like, oh, if I screw this up, they're going to bring the other guy in. I think, having that removed from him. But also, I will say my overall concern is Cuvée is totally carrying the offense. Just he's knocking in all the, like, what was it? We won. He had 5 of the 6 RBIs on Friday when we won. I mean, this is at some point people are going to pitch to him. Like, I mean, there was some. I don't understand why they're pitching to him as much as they are now. There are times when first base is open. Like, you shouldn't put anything anywhere near the zone. You don't necessarily have to just, like, intentionally walk him, but you should be pitching around him. Like, throw it over the plate, he hits it over the wall. It's like, well, what were you doing?
Yeah.
It's not going to take them that long to figure that out. Like, hey, let's just not pitch this guy. So these other guys are going to have to step up more.
Yeah, they will. I mean, and look, like you said, the first 4, the first 5 are doing a good job, right? But you have to, that bottom half of the lineup has to strike a little more fear into the opposing pitchers, mindset that if this first half of the lineup doesn't do anything, I'm okay because I can cruise into having to face them again in a couple of innings because the other guys are gonna get themselves out every once in a while. So I think that Ogden doing it. I mean, he's a hitting machine right now, right? Just a lot of singles, not a lot of power per se. Can he get the ball out if he has to? I think he can. Obviously, we've seen it, but you're gonna see him. You're not gonna see him strike out too much. You're gonna see him hit the ball. You're gonna see him get on base, which is nice. And he's not gonna drive in a lot of runs from that leadoff position. But now Max, you got a guy that I think potentially could start. And he's new to that 2-hole. He hasn't been hitting in that 2-hole for very long. I know he was, and then they moved him out, and then they moved him back. So, he's been there for the last maybe 4 or 5 games. And I like him in that 2-hole. I think that maybe he will start driving in some runs if the guys in the bottom of the lineup can get on. Right? That's what we're talking about here is, If that bottom half of the lineup can get on and get in scoring position, now you got a guy like Max that can drive in some runs. I know DG can drive in some runs from that cleanup position as well. So I think you'll start seeing it a little bit more. But man, you definitely need Derek Williams back in the lineup because now that's that you got a guy on base. He's gonna do what he can to drive in some runs. He's a good hitter. So we definitely missed that at bat there. But uh, you mentioned it. We're still seeing where our offense is going to come from. It's there. It's getting there. Obviously, Cuvée is hitting the cover off the ball right now. But if it wasn't for those guys pitching, man, for that rotation, I think that Miami is. I think that's the biggest thing right now that we need to take away from this team is JD making those changes with Laz and putting AJ Siskar as your number 2, and then take Darius. I still call him Darius. Take Darius as your number 3 guy. First of all, take Darius as a bulldog. If he stays, God, I hope he doesn't enter the transfer portal. If he stays, he's going to be our ace in a couple years. Maybe.
Why do you think he's entering the transfer portal?
Because that's the way things go. That's the way things are. I mean, guys like Victor Medeiros had the same opportunity here, and he left. So, guys like that with that type of potential, with that type of arm, people are already scouting his ass, I guarantee you. So, the transfer portal sucks sometimes. They give it and they take it away. So, but anyways, I know I'm getting ahead of myself there. Right now, that trio, that rotation right now is as good as anyone in the country right now. The way that they're throwing, AJ Siskar is having an absolutely great season as a true freshman out of St. Thomas. Going out there and doing what he's doing is incredibly effective and very impressive. Obviously, we know what Hugus is. He's the bulldog of this team. And then Tate Darius coming in and showing some arm talent, I think it's impressive as your number 3 guy. But let's not forget the biggest thing, Vish, for you, which I know this was huge for you, and I want you to talk about it a little bit, is figuring out the rest of the rotation, figuring out the rest of the pitching staff, what their roles were moving forward, right? I think that was huge for them to figure out and for the team to have set up. Obviously, B-Walt being your closer now, huge, big move. I think that was the biggest thing that we spoke about, but you mentioned it, right? Like, who is your 6 guy? Who's your 7 guy? Who's your 8 guy? Who can go a little longer? You got to figure those things out. You can't just throw out, everybody out there and just figure and just keep going on a whim and seeing what the hell happens and who's hot. They've been able to figure that out. They've got a rotation. They've got something set up now, and it's worked really well for them, Bish.
Yeah, no, that consistency mattered. And also, I know we lost the last midweek game to FIU, but Reese Lumpkin has really improved in the midweek as well, which has helped a lot because you're not burning your bullpen trying to get through these midweek games. Like we talked about the Canes struggling in them. It's really been at the plate. They're losing midweek games. The last several times that they've lost, it's been low scoring games where Lumpkin's been able to eat 5-6 innings, and now you're not, killing your bullpen, keeping them fresh for the weekend as well. So it's all kind of coming together well. It's all interplaying there. And now that we have postseason to look forward to, hard to believe. And you're looking at kind of the setup for the set up for maybe having to play through a regional, having potentially 4 guys that can start a game for you is big. So yeah, no, right now it's working. We'll see a lot of these guys don't have postseason experience. So we're gonna, we'll see. Starting a bunch of freshmen in the postseason is a whole different ball. They've looked great, but that is we'll see how they turn up in those situations. That's not always easy. It'll also be interesting to see, we're going to be in a regional, it looks like, unless we completely collapse. So, how does he set up that
rotation
that weekend? You almost have to throw Hugus on Friday because you can't risk not doing that. And then I guess it'll just be the same thing we've been running, which is Hugus and Siskar than Darius. But that, would you risk throwing, if you're the 1 seed, throw Darius on Friday and then Hugh gets some? I mean,
I think right now that's a great question. That's a great question because if you had put it this way, if you had a rotation of that COVID year rotation that we had, right? When you had those three studs, Saccone, you had Van Bell, you had McMahon, um, you had those guys, right? Am I missing anybody? No, right? You had those three. Um, if you have those three, those are proven arms. Those are guys that have done it for a couple years. You know that you can say, hey, well, you know what? I'm gonna throw Saccone here in the first game as opposed to McMahon or Van Bell, and I'll throw Van Bell here, and then I'll throw McMahon here, and like all those arms were proven. All those arms were dominant. Um, you got young guys right now, and they're used to some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They're used to some sort of you know, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Jesus, why am I drawing a blank right now? Consistency. They have a setup. They have it set up where this is the way they're doing it now. Don't ruin their the rotation. Don't ruin the way that they're doing things. Um, I think that right now you need to keep it the way it is. Throw Hughes first, then throw Siskar, then throw Darius, and mix in Lumpkin and Giroux and those guys that can go a little bit longer. Um, if you have to, um, after, or or you can mix those guys in and out. But right now, I think you need to keep that consistency and keep it the way it is. And not mess with it because they're young kids, and those young kids, anything could trigger them to kind of get out of their groove. Um, and I think that's what you got to do. You definitely got to throw Hughes first, no matter what. And I know we're getting ahead of it, but yeah, we definitely got to do it that way.
Well, I mean, if you're not the 1 seed, you definitely have to throw him because a 2-3 matchup is not. But if you're the 1 seed, you gotta at least consider throwing someone else.
Yeah, yeah. If you're the 1 seed and you're playing Bethune-Cookman, then maybe
you'll be playing a 4 seed then, which is going to be a Bethune-Cookman or the Lions.
Maybe Reese Lumpkin is the guy you throw, right? Like maybe it is.
Well, I don't think you go that far. You're not going to throw the midweek guy in a regional and leave all three of your big guns at the bench. But
right. Yeah, that's true.
No, but I think you might like throw Siskar on Friday instead, and save save Hughes for Saturday. But that's only if you're the 1 seed. If you're not the ones, which right now wouldn't be, like, then no, you can't.
Yeah, I agree.
These are great conversations to have after where we were a month ago. So.
No kidding, man. Unfortunately, you and I both will not be at the FIU game tomorrow. Nope. They do play at home against FIU, which is it the final midweek game?
Final midweek game, yeah.
Final midweek game of the year.
FIU tomorrow, at Virginia over the weekend, and then Notre Dame Thursday to Saturday.
Thursday through Saturday, which we will be at those down here at home. So make sure you keep it locked and watch them go from there. So it's fun to have these conversations, Vish. I think that we'll know a little bit more after Virginia, where we stand.
Virginia's a bubble team. They need a win. We need the win to get the to continue to be in play for our host in the regionals.
At the very least, you got to win the series. But if you can sweep maybe another series, then I think if you here's what I think will happen, Vish. Well, you tell me. Sweep one more, and you're hosting a regional. If you win 2 series and you don't sweep them, I think you're going to be a two seed somewhere, in a good opportunity for you to get through.
It depends. I also think I don't know how they're going to view the crapshoot that the ACC tournament is going to be this year. With the one single elimination 16 team or whatever the hell monstrous.
Not about that.
So the Canes are just outside of the double bye right now. So if you win both series, there's a decent chance you move. Again, it's going to be convoluted because no one's going to play the same amount of games. Right. Us and NC State have 1 less game. Florida State has 3 less. So it's going to be Virginia's further down the standing, so not really a factor where we're sitting now. But yeah, so we'll see. But win 2 series, you get a double bye. Then, I mean, here I don't know how they're going to view that. That tournament's so weird the way they did the format. That I don't know how it's going to be viewed by the committee. Maybe they'll just ignore it. But that's another opportunity to maybe pick up some quality wins. West Virginia did lose to Pitt tonight, so keep on losing, guys. All those teams that are against the Minnesotans keep losing.
Pitt's a tough team. We played them earlier this year.
Yeah.
Tough team.
Yeah, and so I think that's part of it too. Like, what do the other teams do? Because we're going to be somewhere in that probably 12 to 18 range if we win the last 2 series. So that could be a host, it could be not. So
yeah, we'll see. Just keep winning, baby. Keep riding the wave.
Yeah, if you just keep sweeping everyone, they can't. They keep sweep both of those, and I think we're in good shape.
I agree. Thank you guys for joining us. I did not enjoy my cup of tea. I'm gonna go actually have dinner now. Been working this whole time, so I'm a little tired, but I gotta go grab some dinner downstairs now. I love this hotel. Stay here again. So, but we'll be back at it next Monday. We'll be talking. We got football. I know I missed it yesterday, but we missed it yesterday because he committed today. Keontae Scott.
Yeah,
committed today.
We'll talk about that on next Monday's 6 ring, and obviously Kane's on deck right after to.
Well, next Monday is my birthday, so I might not be on again. So we'll see.
All right, we'll see. We'll make it happen though.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yep.
Anyways, Catch is there. Kane's on deck. You got buckets. You got buckets this week, Vish?
No, next week.
Next week. All right, buckets next week, and F1 and all the rest of the good stuff.
F1 an hour ago. Talked about Ferrari.
Hey, they're actually coming with new upgrades for Imola. So.
Oh yeah, that'll work. That'll fix everything.
I don't know. I don't know why they're doing it, but
they're checking. That's what they're doing. They're checking.
Unbelievable. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Adios.
Yeah.